everybody. Welcome today to a joint webinar between AADA and the CAS. Thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate your presence today. On behalf of the African Actuarial Development Academy, I would like to thank you all for joining us at today's webinar titled Elevate Your University's Actuarial Science Program. We are delighted to have representatives from the Casualty Actuarial Society, as well as universities across Africa with us today. Your participation reflects a shared commitment to strengthen actuarial education and prepare the next generation of actuarial professionals who will help address some of the continent's most pressing financial, social, and economic challenges. At AADA, our vision is simple: to support the growth and development of the actuarial profession across Africa through learning, collaboration, and professional development. Central to this vision is our education pillar, which focuses specifically on supporting universities and educational institutions in developing high-quality actuarial education. We recognize that universities play a critical role in the actuarial ecosystem, and they are where the future actuaries are inspired, developed, and equipped with technical, analytical, and professional skills to help them succeed. At the same time, we recognize that many institutions face common challenges, including access to teaching resources, industry engagement, curriculum, etc. Through our educational pillar, AADA seeks to work alongside universities to address these challenges. We aim to facilitate knowledge sharing, provide access to educational resources, and support academic staff. Our goal is not simply to increase the number of actuarial graduates, but to strengthen the quality, relevance, and impact of actuarial education across the continent. Today's webinar is part of that commitment. We hope this session will provide practical insights, spark new ideas, and strengthen collaboration between universities, professional bodies. We hope it will further our ongoing dialogue and partnerships to help us elevate actuarial science programs across Africa. As part of this, we would also, to help in encouraging engagement, we will be giving away 2 early access passes to the CAS case study for participation throughout the session. Please do drop questions in the Q&A section or in the chat section. Katie will give some more details as to what exactly this prize entails during her session. But thank you. I want to say thank you very much again for joining us in this session, and I will hand over to the CAS to give their presentation.
Great. You'll hear from a variety of people from the CAS. Samuel Annan is our volunteer chair of the Africa Regional Working Group. Rand Wo, who's sitting next to me here, is our China country director. Rand and I work together all the time, but we're rarely in the same room. So we wanted to celebrate that by being on the same screen today. And myself, I'm Katie Mulembe, the Director of International Relations and Affairs for the CAS. We will tell you more about the CAS throughout this session, and I will turn it right over to Samuel to get started now.
All right, thank you so much, Katie. And yeah, I'm going to start with a little bit of a personal anecdote. This meeting means a lot to me because about 20 years ago, I first got my introduction to actuarial science. This is me at the University of Ghana doing my bachelor's degree, and I'd never heard of actuarial science, started taking exams, but I didn't hear about the CAS until much later, after I had gotten my associateship in the Society of Actuaries. I think the problem on the African continent is not just resource constraint from a physical point of view, but also information asymmetry. There's a problem with not knowing what you don't know. And what I have discovered after all these years is that this problem has not been solved. I know that because partly of the work we're doing on this Africa task force, but also because I serve on the Casualty Trust Scholarship. And I see applicants come in from all over the world, all vying for scholarship money. And time again, the students from Africa, you can tell, only just discovered the CAS or are still trying to figure out what the CAS is, even as they're applying for the scholarship. I'm hoping that the work that AADA is doing and the partnership that the CAS has with AADA starts to resolve this problem that we've had on the continent for a long time. So I'm particularly proud of Yvonne and Yeside for the work they're doing, and happy to partner with them. All right, so on to the CAS. I'll start with a brief overview of the Casualty Actuarial Society and the CAS exam pathway. Now, for this audience, I want to emphasize that the CAS is not just an exam organization. It's a professional community connecting students, universities, employers, practicing actuaries, all in the general insurance sphere. The CAS has been around for more than a century. Now, we have more than 12,000 members worldwide, and the candidate base is growing. It's been increasing globally. Only 17% are outside North America, but that is an improvement, and we're beginning to see momentum increase. Asia contributes the bulk of the international candidate stream, but we're beginning to work in Africa. We have a few students who start taking these exams, and I can see how in a few years we can see greater and greater numbers coming from the continent. For the universities, what this means is that the CAS pathway is not limited to North America only. This is an opportunity to connect your students to a global actuarial credential and a global general insurance profession. So what kind of risks are we talking about that your students are going to be prepared on? General insurance actuaries work on a wide range of risks. Some of these, if you're looking through the myriad of icons here, will look familiar. It is by no means a comprehensive list of risks that CAS actuaries deal with, but it's important because it gives you a little bit of a flavor of what we're talking about. Some of the familiar ones are motor insurance, general liability, commercial property, and so forth. But some of these are also relatively new over the past decade or so. And so the CAS captures risk not only ones that are traditional, but as the world evolves, the casualty actuarial field itself evolves with it. And so you start to see coverages in pet insurance, crypto, AI-related technology, space technology, and so forth. The breadth is one reason why the field is very compelling for your students. It connects actuarial science to real-world issues in business, in technology, law, climate, and public policy. And so for professors, I think this creates many ways that your actuarial education can feel practical and relevant to your students. I'm curious, and if you don't mind typing in the chat bar or the Q&A session, which of these risks you currently cover in your academic curriculum. It'll be interesting to see how many of these you're currently covering and which ones are completely new to you. So feel free to type in the chat. I can wait a second before I move on to the next slide. Okay, let me know if you see anything coming in. Okay, good. All right, keep them coming. I'll move on, but eventually we can look at what people are saying. All right. Because the risks are broad, the career paths are broad as well. GI actuaries work in insurance and reinsurance primarily, but they also work in consulting, they work in government, they support regulation and banking, technology, transportation, travel, and even academia. The common thread is the evaluation, the identification, measurement, and the evaluation of risk. CAS trained actuaries learn to measure uncertainty, to analyze the data, communicate the results, and support better decision. That skill set is valuable well beyond the traditional insurance company role. Here in the US, it's not unusual to hear of CAS actuaries working in places like Tesla or SpaceX, Uber, or some non-traditional area because the skill set is transferable across many sectors outside of just the traditional insurance, reinsurance path. So for students, I think the CAS path can open doors to many careers. For universities, it means It gives you another way of showing the versatility of the actuarial training. So now let's turn to the career opportunities, from career opportunities to the credentialing pathway itself. The CAS pathway is rigorous. We like it that way. We think it produces some of the best elite actuaries in the actuarial ecosystem, but it's also designed to be practical. The students build technical actuarial skills while learning the materials, and that connects very directly to the work that they will do once they start working. And so when you're advising your students, it's important that we see the exams not as something separate, but as part of the career path. Now, the pathway leads first to the ACAS designation. That's our first designation. And then the fellowship designation is the FCAS. ACAS is the Associate of the Casualty Actuarial Society. Students begin with foundational requirements like the validation by educational experience, the VEE. These are in accounting, finance, and economics. A distinctive feature of the CAS pathway is the applied focus. And so you see that very early we introduce courses like data analytics skills, predictive analytics skills, and risk management throughout the process. And risk specifically, we don't wait to add that on after our students get credentialed. It's built right into the pathway right from the beginning. And that matters because these are the exact skills that employers need in general insurance. Again, for your universities, that means that many of these will connect naturally to existing coursework in statistics, economics, finance, analytics, insurance, and risk management. So this is not a bolt-on additional coursework that is completely divorced from what you're teaching. It will be very relevant to what you're already teaching, and the students can build on as they work towards getting their credentials. All right, so once students understand the pathway, the next practical question is timing for the exams. So most CAS exams are offered twice a year. The MAS exams, which provide actuarial statistics training, are offered 4 times a year. Some of the preliminary exams that are jointly given or that's sponsored by other organizations may be given more frequently. I think exam P and FM are given every other month, about 6 times a year. And so those are part of the reasons why this can become very flexible. But having upper level exams twice a year is something that is relatively new, and it highlights the CAS goal of creating flexibility so students can plan around coursework, internship, graduation, or early employment. CAS exams are administered through Pearson VUE testing centers. We do this to ensure that students have similar experience from anywhere around the world, and it's fair. It also ensures that the exam process is secure and that employers can trust that students who've passed these exams not only went through a rigorous training process, but went through a fair and secure testing practice. For the universities, for professors and advisors, the key point is that this allows your students to plan early and structure their preparation of the exams around their school coursework, as well as any other life events they may be going through. Now, the final piece I'll mention is how students receive credits for requirements they've already completed. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I took all the exams through the Associative of the Society of Actuaries, but I was still able to take CAS exams and then get on the CAS path. Part of it was because some of my exams were transferable to the CAS. We like that. We like that flexibility, so students are not forced and shoehorned into being stuck with a CAS if they're not sure what they want to do. And so students can start on the SOA, IFOA as a track, but we allow them, when they've passed some of these exams, to be able to transfer those credits to relevant CAS exams. In particular, I want to point out that this, for you, will make advising clear because your students don't have to start over when they are exploring the CAS route. Even those who have already begun on the SOA IFOA track, if they are like me and they find general insurance to be more interesting, they can have a relatively seamless transition onto the CAS pathway because it's accessible, it's flexible, and highly relevant. So overall, just to recap, the CAS offers students a global applied pathway to general insurance, and universities can play a major role in helping the students discover this pathway early or transition to the pathway if they had started on some other path. I'm happy to pause and answer any questions that people have if it's present, or Katie, you can take it over and we can address questions later, whichever way it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage everyone to ask questions in the chat. We do have a set time for Q&A at the end, but we can address them via typing. No reason to hold back on your questions. Thank you, Samuel, for going over what is general insurance and how does the CAS credential actuaries around the world in this specialization. Now I want to switch to talk a little bit more about the resources that we offer for universities and why there's value to ensuring that students are exposed to general insurance topics. The CAS offers a number of resources that I'll go over, and they're really grouped into three categories. We have institutional support, student support, and faculty support. And these three groupings are designed to support and reinforce one another to really provide a holistic approach and start forming really stellar actuaries early on. So I'll start with the resources that we offer for students. I've listed three of the main ones here. There are more, but these are the ones I wanted to highlight. Our student summer program is an 8-week introduction to general insurance for actuarial science students. And this program runs July through August. And features of that include weekly webinars. The students are placed in groups with mentors who are senior experienced CAS members. And they also compete together in a team case competition. This is quite a popular program. We always receive far more applications than we can accommodate. And that leads me to talk just briefly about the PNC Actuarial Essentials program. This is an online on-demand offering that of very similar content that is covered during the summer program, but it's done in a self-paced way so that students can learn at their own pace online and really build those foundational skills for careers in general insurance. This is a brand new offering just this year that we've been able to put out there. We're really pleased with interest, particularly among international participants whose academic calendars may not fit into the summer program schedule. And another nice benefit is that we offer discounts to access this program for students in most of Africa and around the world. Also, the Trust Scholarship, Samuel mentioned this in his introduction, but this is a scholarship program supporting outstanding students pursuing actuarial careers, and it gives them financial aid and professional development opportunities to continue their career path. We offer quite significant exam discounts, and this is really essential in making the CAS credential attainable and affordable for actuaries around the world. So we have an extensive list of more than 100 countries that qualify as assistance qualified countries, and that means students earn 75% off of the exam costs. This applies not only for students, university students, but anyone taking exams. So the discounts apply to all the exams in the CAS pathway. Additionally, the CAS does not charge any membership fees, which means that until someone earns a credential, they do not have to pay annually to be a part of the CAS. So that is another big cost savings component of the CAS pathway. We also try and are offering more and more opportunities for students to earn exam scholarships. So this can come through participation in case competitions or the summer program, which can also give students a head start in joining the CAS pathway. Okay. Moving along to talk a little bit about the resources that we offer for lecturers or academics, really anyone involved in teaching actuarial science. We provide free access to CAS meetings, seminars, and webinars. So these are available for most CAS events at no charge. This is a huge cost savings and something we really love to see utilized. So the way to access that is to join our Academic Central portal, which you can easily find on the CAS website. That just means signing up, providing your contact information, and creating an account so that you can learn about these opportunities. We also have a brand new teaching materials library. This is what Yeside mentioned in the beginning. We are offering early access for two of the most active participants of today's webinar. And this is a library of 10 full case studies on general insurance topics that were developed by academics around the world. So you have examples from Spain, Malaysia, India, on a variety of topics, agriculture, warranties. They're all very different and unique and very complete. So when you log in, you can have access to the full overview of the case study. Many have slides that you can present in class, lecture notes, any data sets that you need to provide the students to do the case study in class. So this is a really nice, very practical tool that you can utilize to incorporate some of these topics immediately into your teaching practice. The CAS also offers a number of research opportunities. We really love to see research coming from different parts of the world and are actively encouraging that and funding it in many different ways. We have a large library of peer-reviewed work that addresses both emerging and long-standing challenges in property and casualty insurance. I'll go right here to stick with the research for a second. If you want, you can scan this QR code here and learn more about the opportunities that we offer. We have quick start grants that offer funding up to 50,000 USD for projects. We also have specific RFPs and calls for papers throughout the year on various topics that might interest you, as well as a joint project with the SOA to provide individual research grants. So if you're looking to get published or to engage in research more, we really hope that you'll consider partnering with the CAS on that. And moving back, as I talked about the case study library, that was the result of a competition that we held in 2025 to collect really innovative teaching materials from around the world. We had a great response, and you can see 10 of the winning case studies featured in that library. And it was so successful that we're doing it again. And we just announced that we will be hosting another challenge with the deadline of September 18th, 2026. So there's still quite a bit of time. I'm going to send you information about this competition in a follow-up email, but basically you put together how you would teach your students about various property and casualty topics or general insurance topics, and submit it for review. And the winners not only receive global recognition through the CAS, but also that we offer cash prizes and the opportunity to present your case study at one of our international events. So look out for more information on that in a follow-up email. And now this brings me to the University Recognition Program. And this is sort of the culmination of our resources for students and academics to bring it to the institutional level. This program was created to support universities that wish to do more to expose students to general insurance topics and expand their career opportunities. An important note is that participation in this program is quite easy. We do not have any curriculum redesign demands. This is not a accreditation program. This is more of a resource sharing and a recognition program. So I'll share a little bit about that. Like I mentioned, this is designed to support the advancement of general insurance focused university studies. We offer 3 participation levels, so there are very few demands on the universities that participate. No curriculum changes are required. Universities can enter at the level that they're currently at, and as they get to utilize the resources that are offered through the program, they will likely be able to qualify for higher levels. We currently have 87 universities participating around the world, and spanning many continents, Africa, Australia, Asia, North America, and South America. But we are really hoping to grow in Africa, and that's part of why we were excited to do this session with AADA today. So some of the benefits of this program include widespread recognition. So we list the names of our University Recognition Program members several times throughout the year on LinkedIn, on the CAS website, in our printed resources. We also provide access to members to teaching resources, the case studies that I mentioned earlier, also industry insights and other opportunities. We have special events and conferences that will be available. These are likely to largely be virtual for now, but we're hoping to get more in-person events in Africa in the coming years. And so it's good to get in early to ensure that you have an opportunity to attend those. Like I mentioned, our summer program is very popular. We receive a lot of applications, and we do try to prioritize students that are coming from University Recognition Program institutions. So that is another big benefit of participating in the program. We also ensure that we visit when we are in country. Leadership, the CAS president may be visiting, and we would make sure that they visit campus, connect with students, and provide a presentation. And we also have small amounts of funding available for campus events and faculty development, really depending on the program tier. Like I mentioned, there are 3 participation levels: gold, silver, and bronze, just like the Olympics. I'll start with bronze, which is our entry level for the program. This is for those universities that are just interested in sharing about the CAS with students. That may mean circulating an email or 2 mentioning the CAS during a student event, just to ensure that they know that the CAS is a good option for a credential, and that level is quite easy to attain. Oh, sorry. Next is the silver level, and really most universities qualify at silver level if they are teaching any general insurance topics. So we do a slight curriculum review just to see what you're offering and ensure that general insurance is included in some way or form in the curriculum. And those are silver universities. And then our gold universities are those where students are actively taking CAS exams before they graduate. So that's quite a high level, but we wanted to ensure that bronze and silver are attainable for universities that are kind of brand new to the CAS. And I wanted to be sure to lend our congratulations to the University of Lagos, which is a brand new University Recognition Program member. They're at the silver level, and they are the first university in Africa to join. Certainly not the last, but we were very happy to receive their application quite recently. So congratulations to the University of Lagos. And I think I should have time towards the end, but I can even walk you through the online application process so you can see that it is quite an easy, it can be completed in one sitting process. Basically, you include your contact information, a little bit about your program. So how many students are enrolled, what courses are taught, and then if you are applying for silver or gold, the information there are questions asked that will help us assess the amount of general insurance that's covered in your curriculum or the number of students that are taking CAS exams. So we have an internal review, which at max takes 2 to 3 weeks. Usually I would say it's 2 weeks or under because we do that as a team, and we really prioritize getting people brought into the University Recognition Program quite early. So like I said, once we wrap up here, I'll do a very brief walkthrough so you can see what the application is like, because it is quite simple and easy to manage. And I wanted to mention that we have a special offer. So any university, the next 5 universities that apply from Africa will also receive will receive access for 3 students to the PNC Actuarial Essentials program. So that's a great benefit that you can hand over to your students in whatever way you would like, to top performers or students who are most engaged or most interested in pursuing general insurance. So this is a great benefit, hopefully a good incentive to consider applying for the program early. Okay. So I've done a lot of talking. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about why you would want to do this program or what this program would look like on your campus. And because we have Ran Bo here, Ran is on staff. He's the one who often reviews the curriculum, the applications that are submitted from universities around the world, and also has worked quite closely with many universities in China to develop their actuarial science programs. I thought we could have a conversation with Ran to really understand what this looks like and what this could look like for your university. So Ran, I thought a good question to start for you is, like, why should actuarial science programs expose students to general insurance topics? I understand that kind of the life and health topics tend to be standard and general insurance is not as common, but what are your thoughts on the benefits?
So for sure, I think, first of all, good afternoon to everybody. As an actuary, I practiced in the field for about 10 years, and I always see the insurance industry as life versus PNC. So for any school, if you're offering trainings to actuarial students on the subject, it'll only be fair to offer both sides of the coin, instead of just being really just one-legged on life insurance topics, because the two subject areas are quite different, where life insurance is more about, mortality, investment. You're looking a lot at yield curves. And with PNC is really more about statistical analysis and building those models. Personally, coming out of a statistical background, I just really found that the problems people are trying to solve with in the GI field is just more interesting. So I think I don't know how much pressure each university have in terms of attracting students to the department and then to the major. It is an issue here in Asia where students have the freedom of choice in terms of which school they want to apply to and which department. Having the GI track taught definitely is a calling card, especially when other schools don't. So I think it gives the school a competitive edge from that perspective as well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And I definitely want to invite, Samuel, Yeside, Yvonne, if you have comments too, feel free to hop in. This can be an open discussion, but I know you have exposure to a lot of university approaches across Africa as well. So the next question for Ran is, from what you've seen in Asia, how do some of the leading institutions incorporate general insurance into their curriculum?
Right. So as Katie mentioned before, we have Academic Central, and on there you'll find case study related to GI content. So if you have a class on insurance, say Insurance 101, right, you could leverage some of these case studies. They are sometimes 1 week, 2 week, case studies, sometimes longer. Right? We have the resources available to you. So just log in, find the length of program that suits your need and see how you can adapt. I think that's the most quickest and easiest way to leverage, CAS's resources to bring GI content into your curriculum. But if you want to take it one step further, and if there's room to create, say, new classes entirely dedicated to GI content, I would point you guys to take a look at exam 5, which is, I think, by far most publicly recognized exam and endorsed by actuaries across the globe on its quality, right, on pricing and valuation. So the textbook is already made. So there's two to exam 5. One part, first half is pricing, the other half is valuation. Each textbook is about 500 pages, about 10 to 15 chapters. I think that is a great way for you to build a curriculum, or maybe 2 classes around GI content, if if you really are energized to do the lifting. So 2 ways. Leverage the case study that we have available for you, and also we can start building classes on top of our exam 5 material. And so for silver level of the university engaged recognition program, most school meets the requirement because they're teaching general statistic concepts like Monte Carlo simulation, joint distribution, GLM, and machine learning concepts, which are covered, which in my mind are more math that are related to general insurance, right? So currently we're treating those as a check off if you're teaching those material to qualify for the silver level. But as more schools roll in, I think we may have to start looking at tightening that requirement in the near future to have it be more general insurance focused, instead of just having the math background that we
Yeah. And as the program is growing, we're offering more resources like these case studies to help people do more. So it's
I
we
think
tighten
it'll create separation, which is what we want anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Ran, the point you made about the exam 5 materials is excellent. So many of the CAS exams have publicly available free materials. So those 2 500-page textbooks you mentioned are free to download to anyone. And it goes to point again to 100 years of research that the CAS has done. We have so much material out there for our exams that don't require buying new books. A lot of the exams just provide materials the students can download and read without having to spend additional money.
That's true. All of the syllabus are out there that are free. But yeah, exam 5 is super well organized. It's the best place to start if you're really trying to build a GI program. That's
great. I think you already touched on my next question a little bit, but maybe there's more in-depth sharing that you could do on like the skills that students develop through studying general insurance topics, the data analytics, perhaps, that might be valuable beyond insurance careers. We were just talking about this. There are some places where maybe there's more students than there are careers. So how are we creating kind of really hireable skills in students through the study of general insurance?
I think this is something I think about because I have kids as well, and I question like why do we need to learn anything? Like, why do they need to learn long division if they can just use a calculator, or now you have AI, right? But when it comes back to the bottom of this, is like they still have to be able to think critically about a problem and be able to ask the right question. And so I think our exam is designed in that way, not to test, how to go from point A to point B and get a answer out, but rather some of the questions are very open-ended. It challenges the students to think more critically about what they're doing and reflect on what they have learned and apply it, rather than say, solving an equation. So I do see that shift in CAS, this Bloom was it Bloom Technology? Like basically our pedagogy in terms of how people learn. I think CAS is quite forward, advanced in that regard compared to at least what elementary school are doing in China. They're still doing problem solving, long division, like 50 problems a day, just so they can know the mechanics of doing that, which I think is not very useful. But anyway, that's just a personal reflection on the current education. But from my days, I already felt that CAS is it's challenged. The exams are designed to challenge the critical thinking of the students. You have to be able to show that in order to pass the exam. So I like that very much.
Yeah. Great. I think next, maybe we can talk a little bit more about Africa specifically. So I'd like to direct this question to Yvonne. Yeside, please feel free to comment too. But looking specifically at Africa, like what industry trends are you seeing that are really creating the demand for actuarial expertise in general insurance?
Yeah, I can definitely take this one. So I would say there's a lot of changes in regulation that are happening that are driving demand. And that's actually what you usually see, like even if you look at South Africa and maybe other places that tend to already have a lot of actuaries, even Kenya, a lot of it was driven through regulation. We're seeing risk-based capital, for example, coming up. But specifically in Nigeria, for example, there's this regulation called the Nigeria Insurance Industry Reform Act, or NIRA. And one of the things that it now requires is a sign-off by an actuary. And before, sign-offs weren't required for non-life or general insurance valuations, but now general insurance has specifically been included in there. So, of course, you'd see that will mean increasing demand for general insurance specific knowledge. And I think what you might also see is that the specialist knowledge will also be coming to play because, for example, if a company needs to pay for you to sign off their reserves, why wouldn't they pay for somebody who has that specialist knowledge rather than somebody who's just saying, oh yeah, I can do both. So, if you really want to get a second opinion on your reserves and not just doing it for compliance sake. So I think that will drive some demand. And I also think, I find that as industries are maturing, you do start to see specialization happening quite a bit. I can give you an example from Kenya. I think I started visiting there maybe 3 or 4 years ago, going for the conferences, and everybody would keep saying, oh yeah, I'm an actuary generalist. I do anything, as in I do life, I do P&C, I do anything. And within a couple of years, I would say maybe now 2 years ago, when I go, people come up to me and say, oh yes, I want to be a general insurance actuary. I want to be a P&C actuary. Like it's very specific. So I think that as industries are maturing, you are going to see much more need for specific, general insurance actuaries coming through. And it would be good to start preparing people for that.
I'll take it from a different angle. So the way I look at it across Africa is when we talk about insurance being a catalyst for the growth of economies, there are two ways to look at it. On the life side, what you tend to find is that there's a pool of funds and these funds are invested and they're able to target specific areas that they're interested in. On the GI side, what it is it's actually just insurance. So basically, when you are able to provide cover to companies to allow them restart in the event of something unexpected happening, that ensures that the economy is able to rise up again and continue moving. And that's super important. So who are the people who are going to make sure that the general insurance is so wide? It's about all industries. It's about economies. So when you're thinking about the pricing and the reserving of that aspect of things, you do need the right people in the room. Also, when I sit in some rooms, there's been conversations around whether or not we are doing the right pricing in Africa for ourselves. And in order for us to do the right pricing for ourselves, we need the right skills in town to be able to do that. Otherwise, what we find is that we are taking a lot of our risk outside because we don't understand it as much as we should. So I also see that as being an area in which general insurance and the rise of that skill will help plug. Also, when I say things like export finance, that sort of thing, those climates, usually you find some of the things tend to come from GI, not exclusively, but you find that, some of those lateral moves tend to come from people who have started with a GI background. So again, it's the scope is enormous when you sit down and think about it from that point of view of how a GI actually could add value to the African continent.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Yeside actually mentioned, oh, sorry. I'll just come in quickly. Yeside actually mentioned a point that I think is worth talking about a bit more, which is like catastrophe risks and climate risks. Because, Africa is supposed to be one of the most exposed continents with respect to that. And it's very interesting to me, personally as a non-life actuary, seeing that we're leaving a lot of that in the hands of underwriters. And this tends to be stuff that is highly volatile, right? People seem to be very comfortable giving the life piece to the actuaries, but it's mostly because they're tables and formulas. But non-life is actually the one that has the most risk. It's highly volatile. So not having actuaries look at that and be the ones involved in that quantification of that risk is a big issue in itself. And actually, I think that's a huge opportunity for P&C actuaries within Africa.
I couldn't agree more. And the good thing is that there's a lot of transcontinental knowledge that can be shared, because a lot of the skills and tools needed to evaluate these catastrophic risks and very, very volatile risks already exist, and we just need to make that available to Africa. The point I was going to make earlier on was to add on to what Yeside had talked about, which I love, about the impact of P&C actuaries on the economy. One of the things that I think has hurt Africa over the years is that risk is very expensive. If you start a business and you fail, that could be the end of it. And so not having insurance that can allow you to get back on your feet means that you don't take risks. And no risk, no reward. I think as GI continues to improve, as we train our students to go and enter this sphere, hopefully what that means is it transfers into a continent that takes more risks, that grows, and takes advantage of some of the asymmetric upsides that comes from doing things differently than the traditional safe ways things have been done in the past. So thank you very much, Yeside. That was a great point.
Great conversation. I'd love to keep the conversation going and involve our attendees as well. So I have a question for our participants. So what is one opportunity that you see to increase student exposure to general insurance at your institution? Welcome conversation, or
Katie, are you able to turn on their mics? If we want to.
Yeah. Is there, let's see, if you raise your hand, if you'd like to be unmuted, I can do that.
There was a question in the chat about what does it take to become a CAS member? So maybe we can flip to the slide on the pathway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, while people are thinking about that other question, yeah.
So the short answer is you only become a CAS member after you attain at least the ACAS, associate of the CAS. So the ACAS, so everything in blue and white to finish before you become a member. And we only charge fees for our members. So a lot of students, so the onboarding on-ramp, you don't have to pay anything. It's free. So yes.
If someone is a lecturer or attached to a university, we do have Academic Central that they can participate in. There's no fee for participation in that. Also, there's no fee for the University Recognition Program application or involvement in any way. I should have mentioned that as I was talking about it. So when the CAS talks about memberships, we're primarily talking about ACAS and FCAS, our associates and fellows, but we do have lots of other ways for people involved in the actuarial field, especially in the formation of future actuaries, to be a part of our organization.
Yeah, we define our members that way because at least in the US, once you become an ACAS, you are authorized to sign opinions for the company. So we figured, okay, only those who can issue statutorily binding opinions are then our member. And then I wanted to say a few more words about the exam.
Let me come in before that. Let me
Yeah.
come in on that, sorry, just because it gets very controversial in Africa. The standards are different. So
Yeah.
please make sure the standards adopted in the US on signing rights
Yes.
are slightly different to what we see elsewhere and what we've seen across Africa. So just thought I'd put that in quickly.
Yeah. So yeah, what I mentioned was for the US specifically. And so for the exams, you see on the blue, we have VEE. These are college courses that you can get credits for. So they're not really exams per se. And then on the right, you see the 3 data and insurance series courses. We call them DISCs. Those are online courses that that guide you through the knowledge, and then at the end you go and take a multiple choice, a 75 question multiple choice exam at a Pearson VUE Center. So those are fairly light. Same with the MAS 1 and 2 on the ACAS pathway. Those are just like math and statistical concepts questions, and then you take it in terms of as a multiple choice as well. All right. It gets harder after that because questions become open-ended. It's so basically you have a spreadsheet and you have an answer sheet where you can take the test on the computer. You have to type in your response. So you gotta write down your thought process, write down your formulas and etc. So then that becomes more critical, right, in terms of challenging your understanding. So exam 5 and 6 are like that, right? The property and casualty predictive analytics PCPA exam, right? As you can see, there is an exam and then also a project where the students can take home a data set and work on a project and then submit it for evaluation, right? The last one, the course on professionalism, is a on-site 2-day program to talk to the candidates about the type of challenges, non-technical challenges that they'll face at work, because valuation and pricing is somewhat subjective, and there could be other stakeholders that are interested in the results of your analysis, and how do you deal with that in a work setting. So that's, we want you to have that support and knowledge, before you become a ACAS, and then in the US, then start signing opinions. So that's kind of how the program is set up. I just want to give everybody a little bit more background on the question of how to become a CAS member. Yeah. Thank you.
We also have quite a few. I was going to say we have quite a few questions in the Q&A. I don't know when you'd like to take those.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even notice them. Yeah,
I could read the first one.
Yes. I've got a question before we go, we move off that slide, just to clarify. I know you've got the VE bit there, and we're talking to universities. I know from the fact that we've spoken to the SOA that some universities are accredited for VE. Do you do a separate accreditation to what the SOA does, or is the SOA accreditation the way for universities to go for the VE?
We do currently share the VEE process with the SOA. I would say that there has been some internal conversation about possibly allowing a separate entry point for university recognition program institutions, because we already know them to some degree. So that would be worth talking about one-on-one if a university wants to come directly to the CAS for that.
Thanks. So yes, I hope we didn't make you skip any slides, Katie, but I think some of these questions that you might make you also rehash some of what you said. So
Perfect.
I think they're good. Yeah, the first one is from, okay, no particular order, sorry, but this one is from Stephanie from Togo. She said, thank you for the insightful information shared. I would like to know if the CAS provides support to institutions that are in the process of developing an actuarial science curriculum or launching an actuarial science program. If yes, what types of support are available?
Yeah, I think, Ren, we accepted a university in, was it India or Malaysia, that's into the university recognition program that was still in the formation stage. I know I met them recently. And so the benefit there is access to the resources. So, you know, the CAS content, the case studies, all of that can be incorporated into the curriculum. And I think that's a huge benefit. Yeah.
Look, if you're looking to establish a an actuarial science curriculum focusing on GI, the CAS will be very much willing to support you. There isn't an official program to support that, but we have a lot of reference materials and best practices from other schools that we can share with you to help you in that regard. So we love it that you want to do that, and I think Katie and I will do everything at our disposal to help you. Just ring us a note. We can have a separate meeting to talk about that for sure.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if we mentioned this in the beginning, but we have a Africa Regional Working Group that both Yvonne and Samuel are a part of. So we have a number of CAS members that are particularly interested in supporting the development of the actuarial profession and university programs related in Africa. So we do have a number of resources that you could bank on for that.
Yeah, and I think Academic Central as well.
Absolutely,
is available, and I believe I want to say there's some like university, I don't know, not syllabus, but like materials that you can use to teach your students on there. So
we do have actually two.
We can recommend some, textbook to use as your basis of your program, and then we have case studies that you can use to, bring theory to practice. We also have, so in that regard, we do have a lot of ideas to share with you.
Yeah. So signing up for Academic Central, university recognition, getting in touch with Katie and Ran. I think that there are quite a few options for you there, Stephanie. Great.
I think the other one question is about like how to bridge the gap, right? If faculty is statistical background but never worked in insurance, whereas an actuary, how can they, if they don't have that experience, how can they help the student choose, right? Especially the CAS. So for that, I think right away we have the summer program that I think they can apply to, because the summer program you get mentorship for 8 weeks, small program. So that for sure. And then second, slightly not as straightforward is the case study. So the case studies are practical applications of, say, statistical methods in the on a insurance problem. Okay, so I think if the professors knows the math, right, then it just helps. It then applying that math to the problem is where the learning about insurance and actuarial science happens. To that, we have the each year, or I think we're going to do that annually, right? We have this CAS teaching summit. So basically, where we have all the schools participate in a 2-day conference to share about how they teach actuarial science at school. So I think that will be a good platform, at least to get to know other professors, faculties from other schools that are teaching the same thing, and then so then you don't feel so kind of alone on an island. At least that you can learn from other people in terms of what works and what's the right approach. Yeah, so those two things are what I can think of.
I think that's good. I think in summary, it's you don't have to have the firsthand knowledge, but being a part of the network gives you access to the people who can answer the questions for your students, and we're happy to support that.
Yeah, and one more question from Benjamin is how to align research with industry problems, right? So we do call for papers. So CAS reach out to industry and ask them, what would you like research on? And we get topics. And then we do call for papers, a research paper based on the information we receive from the industry. So kind of CAS sitting in the middle, liaising between industry and academics, we're doing that. So we released a paper on IFRS, call for paper on IFRS 17. And then we also released a paper on climate. And then we have a current paper working on, say, the difference in automotive, premium level between US and China, like what the differences are. And then potentially we could find some interesting topic for Africa that schools can work on together.
Yeah. And one of our other priorities outside of building relationships with universities is to build stronger relationships with employers and insurance companies, and to help facilitate partnerships across the industry to ensure that the research is what's really needed.
Yeah, so I think that speaks a little bit towards Alfred's question. So, I mean, he has a two-part question. So the first is, how can the CAS recognition be leveraged to improve graduate employability and strengthen industry partnerships in Africa? And then the second, which I think you kind of just answered, Katie, a bit, is what role should universities play in getting local insurers to actively participate in building that talent pipeline? So, I mean, I don't know if one of you want to try to answer these two questions. No, I mean, I could start on the first one. I think it has already been mentioned that there are few programs that the CAS already offers that your students can tap into to help improve their employability. We've mentioned the Student Central, which is actually ongoing and it's always open, which gives them access to many different tools and resources where they can learn, where they can develop their skills. We've mentioned the CAS Essentials program, which Katie has said we're offering 3 free access passes for your students to the first 5 universities that apply from Africa. So that one also gives you access to some courses where you can, the students can also improve their skills. There's the Student Central Summer Program, which has already been mentioned, which is an 8-week program, again, mentor-led or self-led. And then there's this URP in itself, which again offers various ways to support yourselves as professors and your students So there are quite a few options there. I think take a look at the links and stuff that have been sent. And of course, we'll also have a recording of this session that will be available. So you can also go back and see how you can sign up to some of those programs.
Yeah, to add to that, Yvonne, in answering Alfred's question about the employability for students, I think earlier you had mentioned your experience with how in Kenya more people want to do general insurance. I think the CAS has a very strong brand in North America because of just how flexible and versatile the program is. It's adapted through time to new challenges, and that's beginning to show up everywhere in Asia and also in Africa. And as time goes on, students are going to realize that having the CAS credential is a very, very strong signal to employers that one, you have the training to handle non-traditional challenges that come up, non-traditional risks that have to be solved for, and so forth. And so, in addition to all the resources, just talking about the brand itself, the CAS brand is solid and is known for being able to prepare candidates to deal with real-world issues.
Yeah. And then there's another question in the chat, which I do think is worth also addressing. It's not necessarily with respect to university recognition, but it's with respect to exam centers. So a question that there's no CAS exam center in Cameroon, which is not encouraging for the universities and prevents people from following the CAS. I mean, I can answer that and maybe somebody else can just chime in. So the CAS does open examination centers wherever a need is being proven. So I can personally give an example even from Nigeria. I know when I first moved here, I tried to see which centers there were in Nigeria, and there were none. And all I did is I let people know. And once I let people know, almost within, I would say within a month or two of that request being made, centers were opened. So I think don't just leave it as, oh, there are no centers. I think sometimes it's also that the CAS doesn't know that there's demand there. So if you do get in touch with us, Isle, I'm not sure how you say your name properly, but if you get in touch with us, I'm sure that can be looked into, because the CAS actually uses Pearson VUE exam centers, which exist already in most countries, and all it needs to do is look into it, see if it has the right specifications to hold the CAS exams, and they really do respond to those requests quite quickly.
Great answer, Yvonne. I would echo that completely. We do look at things to see early indicators of where we have a demand. Might be summer program participation or PNC essentials, certainly university recognition program participation. Those kind of things. We're always looking at participation across the world, and like once or twice a year opening new centers in response to those growing demands.
One more question about from Benjamin. What advice do university faculty have for balancing graduate level coursework with intense study schedule required for the upper level exams? To me, I think school is still number one, because that's what you're there to do. Everybody try to get ahead in terms of their exams. It's like arms race. But that's the kind of the world we live in. But every time I tell students, like, take pass a few exams just to show your employer that you are committed to become an actuary. Don't pass too many. Sometimes it's not feasible, like it's not like they have to work really hard to pass them. So it is, so in terms of advice I give to the students as make sure you graduate with, one or two, sometimes maybe three is better. But yeah, so I don't have any advice for faculties in terms of balancing the coursework. Do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that. You know, I touched on earlier about the flexibility of the program and the fact that, you know, there's so many coursework and you know, subjects that you take that are related to some exam. One thing that is really good about the exam pathway is you don't have to take it in order. You don't have to take, you know, two after one and so forth. So just to give an example, I took the first exam, jumped to the fourth exam, came back to the second, the third, and I even took a fellowship exam before I got my associateship. There's no, you can design your path whichever way you want. And so that means when I'm taking a course that's related to a fellowship exam, well, at that point, you know, I'm going the same path. It makes sense for me to take that exam. So the advice I'd give your students is plan your path. If you're taking a course that is heavy on probability, take the probability exam. That way you're killing two birds with one stone. It's kind of very difficult to be doing coursework heavy in statistical method and then also taking financial models as exam, because then it feels like you're doing two separate heavy lifts. And that's why I think professors can come in and provide advice to students on how they compare and match. But the CAS does not require students to use any particular order. You can design your own path.
Yeah, and maybe
Well
just
said.
to say something really quickly on that, but also as just an advert, because we actually are going to have a CAS pathway session in a month's time that we can talk about this a lot, but just to just bring home that point about taking exams in any order, we do know of we have a candidate in Kenya who specifically went straight to exam 6 international because it covered IFRS 17, because he was like, I need to learn IFRS 17. And then he was like, and it solved all my problems at work. So he was so happy that he just went straight to that. And then he's going to go back to his, you know, MAS exams and the other exams. But bearing in mind that this is for universities, I think we'll get back to the topic of university recognition. But also just know that we have a CAS pathway session in a month's time, which I'll be advertising soon.
Yeah, great. I know we're getting to the end of time. I did want to quickly just share what the application for the University Recognition Program looks like. This is the landing page on the CAS website for this program. And we have two separate programs, but quite closely aligned for US and Canadian universities and for international universities. And this is just a preview of really how simple the application is. So we collect contact information about the university and about the person applying. Ideally, we'd like to have two contacts for the university, just to ensure that we're able to stay connected. And then we have a section on program information. So we are interested in the degrees that are offered, the related degrees. If you have a link to a landing page on your university's website about your academic program or print materials that you'd like to upload, this is the area to do that. We're interested in the number of students. This is not a yes or no, like we don't accept or deny programs based on any of this content. This is just for our own information. We're interested in the age of the program, your faculty, and the courses that you teach. And then depending on which level you're applying for, there are some questions here about how this program fits into your goals for your academic program and your teaching practice. And then some information about your website. And then here, again, this is dependent on the level. So how have you promoted the CAS, or how could you promote the CAS within your university? And you can upload your syllabi here, so we can take a look at those to assess. If you have students who have taken exams, you can include their information here, and then you certify and enter your name. And that's the application. It is really quite simple. So I hope that was helpful to see it, to kind of address any concerns about what that would look like. This is designed to be easy access. So we hope that that is the case for you.
And
Katie,
I was going to say, Katie, could you just remind us how long it takes for the CAS to get back? Because there's a question in the chat.
I saw,
Somebody had a
yes, I
specific
saw
question.
that,
Yeah.
and I will follow up individually on that because I just checked in on it last night. Typically it takes 2 to 3 weeks. Our team, we did host a big teaching summit in Thailand. So our timeline at this very moment in time is a little bit skewed because of the team was tied up with another event, but we, normally it's quite a quick process.
And I was traveling, so I don't know, maybe there's email in my box.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
We were in Thailand. Ren was in Thailand. Now he's here in the US and all that. So, but if ever you're concerned, feel free to check in on the status. We are here and eager to connect.
Yes.
and
Okay,
Katie, the application, if a school is applying for bronze, they don't need to fill out the silver and gold sessions, right? So
Yes,
if you're going for bronze, you just need to do bronze and leave the silver and gold blank.
exactly. And this was the preview that I showed you. In the real application, when you select your level, you will only see the questions that apply to that level. So all of them were displayed in this preview of the application.
Great. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions or comments, I will move very quickly to announcements. So first, I'd say thank you very, very much to Katie, Ran, Samuel, and of course, Yeside for this session. It has been very helpful. For those that have missed any part of it, there will be a recording that we will post on our socials. And also a reminder, there is the CAS has said that there will be 3 passes to the Essentials program for the first 5 universities from Africa that apply. So the first 5 universities from Africa that apply and get accepted, or just apply? Which one, Katie?
Apply. I mean, I think accepted. I think that we
Apply and
are licensed to
accepted.
accept everyone.
Yes.
We may
Okay.
adjust
So-
the level that you
so-
apply for, but we're welcoming you with open arms here. So Yep.
So the first 5 will get 3 passes, 3 free passes for the CAS Essentials program for their university students, which hopefully will also allow some of your university students to shine in their job applications. So I'm just going to do a couple of announcements. Just to let you know some things that are happening on our side. Oops. So the first is we do have a fireside chat this week on Beyond Traditional Actuarial Roles with Alex Akweraburu and Cedric Maxwell. So we think this is going to be really exciting and interesting one because Alex, he started off as I think, reserving and capital actuary. He's gone off to do so many things. He owns a brokerage. He's now opening some doing something in health insurance. Like, he's doing so many things. So I think this is going to be a very exciting one. So this is this week, Thursday at 1 o'clock GMT, which is all the other time zones are shown there. So please extrapolate and join at the right time zone. And then also, we mentioned briefly that there is going to be a session on the CAS credentialing pathway. That's going to happen on the 7th of July at 1 p.m. GMT as well. You can scan the QR code that's showing up on here to be able to register. And hopefully, I think we had quite a few questions on the CAS pathway, so do register so that you can get those questions answered there as well. And we're going to have a session that has a presentation, but also we'll have panelists from across Africa and the world to tell you about their experience within the CAS pathway. And then also coming soon, we did mention that we have the CAS has that PNC Actuarial Essentials program. So we're partnering with the CAS to do a few mentor-led ones to put it in context of African work experience within the African continent. So watch out for the applications for those. Also, we have lots of announcements. We do have our Pathways to Success program that is just starting on the 6th of July. So this is our individual mentorship program. We are looking for mentors. We had a ton of applications for mentees as soon as we opened up. So if anyone would like to please volunteer to be a mentor or know someone that could be a mentor, encourage them to sign up. To be a mentor, you just need to be somebody that has experience with some actuarial experience and can mentor someone from a university level to be able to let them know about the actuarial career. We also have AADA Connect, which is our WhatsApp community. You can access that by scanning the QR code. There are quite a few different WhatsApp groups on the community. Some for our volunteer mentors. There's one called the Actuaries Lab, which is an interesting one where they go through an actuarial problem every week. So take a look at that. We have an educators network, which would probably be very relevant for those that are on this call, where you can also get information from there. So please just take a look, scan the QR code, or use that tiny URL, join AADA chat to join our WhatsApp community. There are also a few other upcoming events. I've mentioned our individual mentorship program starting on the 6th of July. Applications are open right now. We're also going to be doing an IFOA university accreditation session, as well as ASA and IFOA pathways in the second half of the year. So take a look, follow us on LinkedIn, and register when you see those opening. Otherwise, call to action just to reach out and contact us if you want to discuss anything or join our mission. So also the moment people may have been waiting for, which is the winners of our 2 early access passes. So we did notice people were a little bit slow to start, but we did start and the questions kept flowing. There was one participant in particular that had many questions, and I think it was very hard for us to keep up with all the questions, but I believe we answered all their questions. So just to let you know who has won. So these are our CAS University Recognition Session giveaway. So the early access P&C case studies for the universities. And for those of you who might be like, why didn't I win? It's because you weren't participating. So please participate next time. You never know what you'll get. So you might be next. So the winners are Benjamin Oheni-Kiri from Ghana. He had a ton of questions for us. And also Stephanie from Togo, who had a really thoughtful question that she posted on the Q&A that we also answered. So thank you to those two and congratulations. You can claim your prize by emailing contact@ada.africa. I think we also have your email addresses, but do just let us know that you have recognized that you've won and you want to claim your prize. So congratulations to you guys and thank you again for participating. And with that, we've come to the end of our session. So thank you everybody once again. This has been very informative and I've enjoyed speaking to you all. Take care everyone and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you everyone.